Okay, good morning. Okay, some of you might have noticed that the Wi-Fi is not really working, right? So, good morning. Okay, so because the Wi-Fi is not really working right now, we're going to try to do the second half of the lecture and then see if the Wi-Fi does start working, and if it doesn't, then either we will just take the quiz on Wednesday and I'll try to do what I was going to cover on Wednesday. I hadn't really fully prepared it yet, but I think we can make it work. Or we all move, which, I don't know, does that sound like not doable or does that sound doable? Not doable? No? Like physically move to the library.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if that sounds like that could work. So we could all take a 5-minute field trip and go to the library and take the quiz. Okay, maybe we'll do that because I haven't really prepared what Wednesday was going to be yet. Okay. Let's get started then. So today we're going to be talking about strings. We're really, I think, diving into stuff now. So if you're really feeling like you're falling behind now, really try to catch up because it's going to start picking up quick, okay? So, strings today. So I wanted to talk about string just so we had time to talk about it today, and then I'll do the recap on Wednesday, which is why I'm trying to put Wednesday together. So Wednesday will be like a recap of while loops and going over strings to slow down a little bit before we pick up again because midterms are in 2+ weeks, yeah? Or at least for this class, first midterm is in a little bit over 2 weeks. So that's what Wednesday is. We're going to take the quiz, but we'll flip these. So we'll talk about strings first. But before I go into that, I just want to give you all some updates. So these are the scores for quiz 1. So it was out of 10. The mean was 6.7, not bad, right? Some of you didn't get anything. Some of you did great, got a max of 10. The median was 7. And then a good chunk of you are doing pretty well, above 70% on this quiz. And then also a good chunk of you are doing really well. I know it's the first quiz, so don't really stress too much about it. Like I said, just want to make sure that you don't fall behind now because it's going to start picking up, and it's always going to be building on top of what we learned before. And as much as I'm trying to make these lectures independently scoped, every time you do work in lab, it's going to build on top of that. So really try to be proactive and not fall behind, and we're all here to help. If you feel like you're behind and you're struggling, you're not the only one, right? I took my first computer science class, I didn't know anything. I felt like I was so behind everyone else, but you're not behind, right? Some of you are going to feel like you're struggling because it's all new to you, and that makes sense. And then some of you are going to be doing great because you've seen this stuff before, okay? So it's all just a matter of that privilege of you had the privilege of knowing this stuff before, but some of you don't have that, and that's totally fine. Everyone has their own privilege. Everyone comes from a different background. It's totally fine. So if you feel like you're struggling, it's okay. Just right now is the time to really be proactive and reach out for help, okay? Okay, so I want to give you the option to be able to do retakes starting with this second quiz. So pretend like you already took it. Well, you'll take it. But if you feel like you could have done better, then I will give you another chance to try. So to earn the chance to do a retake, you need to email me by the end of the week, so Sunday, 11:59, with the explanations for why the correct answers were correct, so that I know you put in thought into why it was wrong and you looked into it and tried to figure out the right answers so that you can do better next time. So for all the questions that you missed, email me. And then to actually retake the quiz and to do the retake, just come to my office hours and I will set you up. So then I'll give you 15 minutes to do the quiz, do the retake, and just so you know, you can only earn up to 80%. So the quiz will have 8 questions instead of 10. Yeah? Okay, and then if you end up doing worse on the retake for some reason, obviously I will give you the higher one of the two, okay? Okay, any questions on this? Okay, for those of you just joining, I would have started with the quiz, but there's no Wi-Fi working right now. So we will do this lecture first and then do the quiz later, probably, hopefully. But we'll have to move to the library, so hopefully that's not too much of a big deal. Okay, so today we're talking about strings. I'm going to try to talk slower today. I'm going to make an active effort to do that. But today we're going to be talking about different things that we can do to strings and how we can manipulate them because, again, computer science is all about taking data, changing it, right? Doing something with that, and oftentimes you will be doing that with strings. So the three main things we're going to be talking about today is, one, how do we get the length of a string, because we want that information to manipulate it sometimes. And then how do we index into a string? So indexing is often used in this setting, so index into something. So how do we access an individual character in that string? And then substrings. Sometimes we want only parts of a string, right? So we're going to be talking about how to get a substring, how to get a part of a string. Okay, let's talk about length first. So the distinction between a character versus a string. So a character is anything that's typed in a single keystroke. So a character, a char. Remember, it can be like a letter, a symbol, a number, a space even, right? So some of these examples are here. So one single character, one single keystroke. A string is just a sequence of these characters. A sequence of letters, numbers, symbols, spaces even, right? The spaces at the end, those are still strings, just empty. Okay, so let's take a look at this. What are the what is the length of each of these strings? So the first one is 4. There's 4 letters, right? The second one, 2 symbols, yeah. This one, oh my gosh, don't even know how to count it, but that space is 1. So 4 plus 5, the space. Morning is what? 7, 12, 13? Yeah. So it's all the characters, all the letters, including the spaces and the symbols. And then what about this one? Yep, 6. And what about this one? There is spaces in between all the symbols. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9. Okay. So in Python, there's a built-in function that lets us get the length of a string, and it's called this len function. So it returns the number of characters in a given string, and you put that string in the parentheses. So that's the argument of the len function. So the length of this is 4. The length of this one's 2, and the length of this is how many ever characters, right? We can also put this string in a variable and then call this function on a variable. Stuff we've already seen before, yeah? But just note that you can do this with the len function. Does this make sense? Any questions? Okay, pretty straightforward. Let's go. Yeah, Lade. No, don't be sorry.
What's the why would you want to know how many words?
Yeah, so you'll see an example when we want to index into something or index into a string or get a substring. We need to know the length potentially because we maybe want to get the whole string. We need to reference the number at the end or how long it is. You'll see in a second, but good question. Yeah, it's like why do we really need to know the length? Okay, indexing. This might be new to some of you, so I'm going to try to talk slowly. But an index is a position of an element in a sequence. So when we index into a string, we're trying to get the position of a specific character in that string. So if we want to get a specific character, we need to get it by the position it is in that string, by its index. Python is 0-based, so it's 0 indexed, meaning you start from 0 instead of 1. So anytime you start counting, always start from 0. And a lot of other programming languages are like this too. But that might trip you up if you're not used to it, okay? So always start counting from 0. So that means that the last index is always, the length of the string, the length of whatever, minus 1. So this is why that length is important, because it kind of helps us with the index if we wanted to index something at the end. So say we had this string, Go Bulldogs, then each of these characters have these respective indices or positions. So notice it starts at 0. The capital G is at the index 0. So for this string, the character at index 0, at the 0th position, is this G. So say we wanted to get the last one, that will be at 11. Because the string length is 12, the index of that last character is 12 minus 1, which is 11. Make sense? So you're indexing into a string. You're trying to get a specific character by its index, by its position. Okay, so for example, the index of U we see as 4, right? The index of G is 9. And then like we just said, the index of the exclamation point, the last character, is 11. So the index is the number, the position. We start at 0 with Python. Okay, so just some practice. Tell me the indices of the yellow character and the green one. So C is what? 0, yeah, and then P is 0, 1, 2, 3, right? Okay, what about this one?
6.
So P is at 6, right? Because we start at 0, and that space is also a character.
11.
Yeah, and then keep counting 11. What about this one?
1.
Yeah, A's at 1. Okay, and then you kind of can keep counting and figure out that one. I don't even want to count. Okay, what about this one? So 5 is at position 2, right? You start at 0, 1, 2. Okay, what about the W? Yeah, the W is at 3. And then you keep counting and then you get to 7 for the green one. So remember, start at 0. Okay, so for the syntax, we want to use square brackets to access the specific character at the index that you specify. So for example, say we had this phrase that has a string, welcome to Fisk University. If we wanted to get the character at the 0th position, so index 0, we take that string and then we do open bracket, specify the index, close it. So this corresponds to which character? Yeah, the first character, the capital W. What about this one? Yeah, I'm hearing it, M. So we start at 0, right? And then we count 1 is the E, 2 is the L, C, O, M, 5. Make sense? Okay, any questions on this? So remember, you take your string, and then if you want the specific character at some index, you have to specify it inside these brackets. And it has to be these square brackets. If you use something else, the computer's like, I don't know what you're doing. So say we had this word, variable, that stores the string frog. And I'm trying to get the 8th character in this string, but the string's only 4 long, right? It's only of size 4. So if you try to index into a string, but it's too far, too out there, you're gonna get an index error. So this is often referred to as out of bounds. But in Python, it'll tell you index out of range. But in other languages, the error language might be out of bounds or something like that. Make sense? Let me show you in code too, just to see it. Okay, so we have all of these, and we'll go through them one by one. So we have Go Fisk is Bulldogs. If I print this, oops, I'm running it for the first time. Okay, I'm running it, and it's gonna print Go Bulldogs. I'm connected to my phone. Okay, nice. Okay, so what is the length of this string? We just saw, but if you don't remember, you can count. The length? Let's see. So it's 12, right? So even though we're counting from 0, the length will still give us the actual length. So, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Can you see this? Okay, does that make sense? Also, I'm using this interesting syntax or format where I print a string and then it actually prints a value. Just in case you were wondering what that was. Okay, so what is this going to give me? The 0th index of this string. Let's try it. Nice. Okay, what about this one? Remember, this is my string, sorry. Yeah, empty string space. It'll just have nothing, right? It's an empty string. Not nothing, but the empty string. Okay, what about this one? This one, index 6. So we go, let's go from here. So 0, right? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So L? I'm thinking L. Yep. Okay. Now let's try to get an index error. So I'm putting 12, and 12 will give me that index error because even though our string is of size 12, there are only 11 positions because we have that 0, right? So if I print this, or if I run this, I see my index out of range, right? So it tells me, ooh, it looks like on line 13, you're doing something wrong, there's an index error, string index out of range. So once you see that error, you know immediately that you're probably doing some index or specifying some index that's longer than the string. It's not in there. You can't find it because the string is only X characters long, right? Okay. Okay. Let's comment all of this out so that we can do the next one. Okay, so slicing, this is the terminology used to get a substring. So when we slice a string, we're getting a substring. We're getting a part of that string. So a slice is just a subsequence of a string. You need to know the start index of the character you want to start that substring at and the end index. So you need to know where those are and specify that when we get the substring. So when you have these two numbers, you want to keep in mind that the character at the start index is included, but the character at the end index is actually excluded. So Python's like this. A lot of other languages are like this as well. I don't know why, but that's just how it is. So generally speaking, if I wanted to create a substring and put it in this variable mySlice, I would take my string, and then again, important, the open and close brackets. So that's what's used always for like indexing and slicing. And then you want to specify that start index and then end index. But keep in mind, the character at the start index is included, but the character at the end index is excluded. So you might have to like add 1 to what you think it is. Maybe that'll make sense with an example. So let's say I have this variable and its name set to the value of string Ariana Grande. If I sliced it like this, what do you all think this would give me? Yeah, I'm hearing just Ariana. So it would give me that because this one is 0, that's included. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I exclude what's at 6, right? So I go back 1. So then it's just this string Ariana. No space after here. Make sense? So what you can also do when you slice strings is omit one of these. So you could omit this one and it would just be a colon. So it'd be bracket colon and then a number. Or you could also omit this last one and it would just be bracket number colon bracket. So say I had name is again Ariana Grande. What would this give me? Yeah, we give you the same thing because starting at 0 or omitting it is the same thing. Does that make sense? So you start at the beginning of the string. It's nice, right? Because you see that omitted and you're like, okay, I know immediately I'm starting at the beginning. Which oftentimes you will do that, right? More often than not, you'd probably get something from the beginning or the end versus some random part in the middle. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll talk about it later, but yeah. Okay, so you get Ariana. So if I omit the second index, then the slice will just automatically go to the end of the string. So it's like the same thing, but at the end instead of the beginning of the string. So again, name's Ariana. What happens when I get this? When I slice it like this? Yeah, just Grande, right? Just the last name. So I have my 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I start at 7. I start at this G. I include it. And then I go all the way to the end because I omitted that end index. So I'm assuming and I'm telling Python to just go all the way to the end of the string and that's my substring. Make sense? Any questions? No? Okay. So what are some other things we can do with strings? we've already seen this before, right? We can concatenate strings. We can combine them. So we just put them together by using the plus operator. So my name is this string Jessica. Intro is my name is space concatenated to Jessica. And then I can do another concatenation and print this intro with my name included. And then I also like snacks. I'm telling you this in a string. This should look familiar. We should all know this already. Yeah? Okay. An easier way to maybe do this instead of doing a lot of pluses and combining things like that, we can use this format method that is also built into Python. So it's just a cleaner alternative to doing concatenation. So again, we want our code to be readable, right? We wanted to make it really easily digestible. This is one way that might help make things more readable when we have code. So everything inside of the format will be substituted for these curly braces. So to see an example, I'm gonna call format on this string. So I'm replacing intro and putting it in here, and then name and putting it in here. Yeah? I wonder if I print a sentence. Okay, I didn't print sentence, but we could try this. But it would replace this and put it in here. So this intro would go in here, name would go here, so then it would say, my name is Jessica and I like snacks. So do the same thing as what this did. Make sense? Okay. So some practice, hopefully it's pretty straightforward. What would this say? What would this print? Yeah, hi, what is your name, right? Concatenation. Okay, what about this one? Yeah, good job. So you just gotta match one by one all these things in these strings. Okay. And then what about this one? Yeah. So this would be, you can combine both, but probably shouldn't. So it does this format on this string, but then it concatenates this string. So it's valid, it'll still give you something, it won't error, but it's just a little weird. It's not as conventional, it's not as readable, right? So don't do that. But if you want to, you can. Okay, so what other string functions exist? Well, remember we have len, right? And there's so many string functions that just exist because Python and other programming languages will just do things for you if they know you'll probably need them, right? If you think like, oh, I wish this did this for me, I bet you more than often than not, you would be able to find some method. You could just say, does Python uppercase all these letters in these strings? Then yeah, it does. So we can take a look at these docs. Oh my gosh, internet. Yes, okay. So I know this is really overwhelming. When I was in my intro CS class, I was like, I hate reading docs. I still hate reading docs because there's so many freaking words. It's okay, one little thing at a time. So you can see we have like this capitalized method. Is this big enough? Where'd it go? I lost it. Wait, let me refresh it. What the heck? Hold on. Okay, so I have this capitalized method, right? That's one example, and it tells you what it returns. Oftentimes, it'll also tell you the arguments it comes in, or you need. So there's a bunch. I'm just scrolling. Let's look at some that are like more intuitive, maybe. So lower is one. It lowers all of the letters to lowercase. But see, you can kind of tell which methods exist, and it'll try to help you get examples of what that function does. So over time, you'll be able to kind of get better at reading these docs. Not something you maybe necessarily have to do now, but it is a skill that eventually you will need to learn if you want to like do a lot of like software development or stuff like this. Yeah, Sydney, did you have a question?
Okay, so with the format one that you showed us,
yeah,
you should put a period in front of the format and then do it.
Yeah, exactly.
For all the big ones that you taught us, is that the only one that does that? I saw a couple.
Yeah. That is such a good question. So remember len, you do len, and then you open close parentheses and you specify the string. Well, for format, you do the string and then you call it on that string. So you take that string and then you're like dot format. meaning that you're calling this function on this. So there are both ways that you can do it, and you just have to kind of like remember and get used to which one's which. So the more you use len, the more you're going to remember like, oh, you put the string inside the argument. The more you use format, you're going to be like, oh, I remember to call it on the string. So I think more often than not, it's actually this way. In Python, it's like dot something. But so many times I'll like confuse languages and confuse syntax, and I'll just have to look it up. So it's not something you necessarily have to like memorize, but the more you do it, the more you're going to remember. But there are some times where I'm like doing something in JavaScript, and then I'll like do it in the Python way, and then I'll be like, oh shoot, that errored, and then I have to just Google it. So yeah, it's something to get used to, but great call out, great observation. Sometimes you'll have string methods where you take the string and then you call it on that string by doing it like this, like dot, accessing that method. But for len, it's different. And so I think maybe this kind of helps to see where maybe this is intended this way, but it's like string dot something, right? So I think it's trying to tell you that it's like called this way. Actually, let me look at the len function. I usually use like W3 schools. I never really go to the Python docs, but that was just an example to see it. But if you even like Google a function, you can just kind of see examples of how it's used. And then it kind of helps you. Oh my gosh, the internet is so freaking slow. Okay. Oh, here. Okay. So you can just easily kind of Google these examples on your own. Another skill that I want you all to kind of like try to work on is how do you Google stuff to get unstuck? Because I know that's more of an art than a science. Something I really had to learn and struggled with that. But yeah, kind of besides the point. Kind of a little bit of a tangent. Oh my gosh, don't die on me. Okay. Great observation though. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So we have this string test and we're calling dot upper on it. Intuitively, what do you think that does? Yeah, maybe it uppercases everything in that string. Awesome. What about this method, dot lower? Yeah, so this one would be example all lowercase. What do you think this one does? Spaces, yeah, strips the spaces. Yeah, so dot strip will remove that extra space on the end. You can think, or you might hear of it as like extra white space. So it removes those extra spaces, but it keeps the one in between. It's just all the ones on the ends. And then what about this? What do you think this does? Yeah. So I think it'll take that first D and then replace it with whatever specified in the second argument. So make it construction. What about this one? Fire in the sun? Ooh, fire in the sun, yeah. So it takes all of the occurrences of un and then replaces them with ire. But what about this one? Fire in the sun, yeah. So it's kind of intuitive, right, with the naming. Obviously trying to help you kind of know. But let's say we took a look at the docs, right? And I looked up replace. Oh, okay, now it's telling me it returns a copy of this string with all occurrences of substring, old replaced by new. So old replaced by new, right? Then it says if this optional argument count is given, only the first number count occurrences are replaced. So in this case, we had this one, so only the first one was replaced and none more. So this is just an example of how you really need to get used to reading docs if you want to use these more complicated methods. But I know it's really overwhelming. There's so many words, but similarly in lab when you have all these exercises, break it down one step at a time, read one sentence at a time. But it's very explicit, so you have to be very careful with every word that it says and just be careful with what you're reading. Okay, makes sense? Oh my gosh, no, loud. Okay, nice job with these. Okay, so let's talk about this string. So this string, we need both the quotes, double quotes, and the single quote, the apostrophe, in this phrase, right? And say I wanted to make this into a string, well, what happens? So I try to assign my quote variable to this string, so I wrap this whole thing with a double quotes. But what's going to happen is my computer sees this first one, and then it's like, oh, you're creating a string. Then it sees this next one, and it's like, oh, you're closing that string. So then it has all these other variables and symbols. The computer's like, I don't know what to do with those. Are those variables? Are those something? I don't know. But it opens this because it sees, oh, you're opening a quote, so you have a string. And then you're closing it. So then it thinks that this is a string and this is a string. But that's not right, right? What if we try to wrap this inside single quotes? So again, our computer sees the open single quotes. And then it keeps going. All these are characters. And then it sees this closing one. And then it's like, oh, that's a string. And again, all of these symbols, whatever, it doesn't know what these are. There's an opening one, no closing one. There's an opening one, no closing one. So it just gets confused. But this string, we need both double quotes and single quotes, right? Like we need the double quotes because it's a quote from students. But we need this because it makes it a grammatically correct sentence. So we can't not have it, right? So then what do? We escape. We escape characters to give them special meaning. And what do I mean by that is we'll see some examples, but some characters have special meaning like quotes. Like we needed those quotes to be quotes, characters, instead of telling the computer you're opening a string, right? Or closing a string. So sometimes we also need invisible characters like new lines. So this is when we need to use escaping. So when you escape a character, you're putting a backslash before that character and then giving it a special meaning. So not its original meaning that you might intentionally already have, not a meaning that it already has. Some special meaning. So in our example, we have our quote and we're opening it. So we're telling our computer, this is a string. Then we escape this quote. So we're telling the computer that now it's actually a character. We're not closing the string. So everything else is fine. These are all registered as normal characters. And then you have to escape this quote. We're escaping this one because we're not closing that string, right? So then we have this backslash n. So if we had this n, the computer would just think it was like a normal n, right? A normal n in this string. But because we're escaping it, we're saying, oh, we want a new line. So then we follow this with the dash and the students, and then we have this quote. We don't backslash, we don't escape it because we're telling our computer that now we are closing this string. So then if we print quote, it looks like this. It looks like, let's get internships, and then new line, dash students. Yeah? Yeah, Ankit, do you have a question?
Can I explain the new line part right in front of the students?
Yeah. So what would happen if I did this? Then I think this character would be on this line. No, run faster. Oh my gosh. The what? Yeah. That's why no one has actually taken this quiz, and only you have Bryce. I know. Did it run yet? Oh my gosh. Signal. Okay, well, what would happen is it would have let's get internships, and then have the dash, and then a space technically, and then print students here. Make sense? I know you can't see it, but you have to believe me. Okay, let's keep going. Oh wait, what am I doing? Okay, so these are some common things that you'll probably escape. So new line, tab, the quotation, apostrophe, so double quote, single quote, and then maybe you'll have to escape a backslash if file paths, whatever. Things you'll see. But yeah, these are all of the things that we've kind of seen already. So ways in which you can manipulate strings. Yeah, deal. Yeah, this.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Do you have a question? You just want to see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions on this? Or strings?
Oh, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Everyone needs to stop saying sorry. What? What?
What does tab do?
Tab?
Yeah.
Like, give you an extra tab, like in a keyword, like tab, like space. I think.
What?
So how new line gives you a new line, right? If you were to put tab, it would like tab it, as if you were typing and hit a tab in your like.
Oh, so it's like when you use if and then you go Is it the indentation?
It's like an indentation inside a string though. So it's manipulating strings.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not the literal tab on a keyboard, but I'm saying if you were to make a string and you typed deal and then did \T, it would like tab it as if you typed that string and tabbed it. Yeah? So it just give you like extra space.
So do you use it before you want to start or after?
That depends on your data, it depends on what you're trying to do.
Like, if I want to type seal, do I use this \T before or after the seal?
If you want the space before the zeal, then you do it before.
Yeah, before.
Yeah. Yeah. I would show you if this would run. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I can show you on Wednesday when we do a review of all this. Okay, let's do this. And then I'm going to think about us moving to the library. Because but I don't think we have time. Okay, let's all fill out this form. What? What? Oh shit. Oh my god, you're right. You can do it on your phone. No! Why? Okay, I'll do reminders first. Okay. Office hours. So I just want to tell you all that the TAs have office hours and things are really going to pick up. So like I said, don't get behind now. Like, please don't get behind now. So really try to utilize all of their office hours as well, because they're here to help. They literally took the class. They know everything. They did everything already. So Adora's will be today, 12 to 1. Gona's will be next Monday, but maybe not next Monday because I don't know if all the buildings are closed. But Benjamin's will be Tuesday after labs. And then I also have office hours today from 3 to 4. So if you want to come talk to me about anything, I will be there 3 to 4. Library. Yeah, Moyo. Yeah, I do have an office. It's number 60, but I don't have the key. So I'm just going to stay in that area that I've still been in. Yeah? Okay. Project 1, part 1 is due Sunday. There are no late days. So whatever is the code you have at the end of Sunday is just what it's going to be. So this is quite a large part of your grade. So try to prioritize this and ask for help earlier on if you need it. So I know today's like the last day that you could really ask in person, but EdStem, I can email. Yeah. So just keep in mind, no late days for projects. Okay, homework 2, due Wednesday. Make sure you don't fall behind with this because this is practice for everything we're learning. And then if you need help, because I don't want you to fall behind, you can feel free to book office hours with the virtual TAs. So the Googlers that are so pro at all these things, they can help you with whatever you want. Doesn't matter. You could just show up and ask them all these questions. They're happy to answer anything. So feel free to book times with them.
This is virtual, right?
Yeah, this one's virtual. So if you like that more, do this. If you don't like this as much, maybe do office hour TA, or go to office hours with the TAs, or me. Yeah? Or ask a question on EdStem. And some of you are doing such a great job of like answering each other's questions too, which is good. And I love to see that. Okay. I don't think we're gonna have time for this quiz.
Let's do it Wednesday.
Let's do it Wednesday. Okay. Yes. Okay. Well. Huh?
Can we do it like will it be open? It's 15 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think I can make it so that I can like open it all for you at the same time. Cause I'm gonna close it. Yeah. Yeah. I guess Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine. Wednesday. Wednesdays are like filler class, anyways. What? But fill out the form. So maybe do it on your phone. It's easy. Do it on your phone now. Yeah?
Now?
Oh yeah. Huh? Yeah, that's fine too. But I'm just like, if you have your phone, maybe you could just do it. If you want to do it later, it's fine. Don't make me force you to do it. No, but if you go to the course website, easy to type the website, and then easy to find this clicky linky clicky thing.
Don't be so lazy.
Oh my gosh. I'm bummed. So you have to take it on Wednesday. It's fine. We'll figure it out. Lade made this happen. It's Lade's fault. She killed the Wi-Fi so she would have more time for this quiz. Okay, I really appreciate it if you can fill it out now, just so you don't forget. But if you can't, it's okay. I won't hit you. But it's also a little bit different this time, the form. So, yeah,
Different.
yeah, it is different. No, but it's still like really easy. Yeah, it's just anonymous this time, so that you're actually honest with me. Yeah, it's anonymous. Because I know all your faces, I know all your names, I know who's not coming anymore. So I've like mental picture taken memory that yeah. So yeah, I'm not gonna be taking attendance anymore, but I still have these forms just for info or feedback, whatever. Okay. Bye, Guru. Precious, you're blinding me. I'm just kidding, you're good. No, it's fine. If you were able to fill it out, thanks. But if not, that's okay. Or just do it later.